rise and shine. Coffee's brewing, feeling fine. News is out and on the air. Shizzy whiz nuts wild, but we don't care. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz nuts, start the show, let's go. Spinning in the breeze, stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java with a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz, let's start the show, let's go. Headlines spinning in the breeze, stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java, wear a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz, let's start the show, let's go. Serious is overrated. Every day we're caffeinated. Talk the town, but in a jest. Morning whiz is always best. Time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop.
Oh my god, Shizzy breaks Larry. Shizzy broke Larry.
Oh yeah.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Good to see all of you. I hope you're having a nice morning. Got a little bit of rest. And if you didn't get any rest, well, what's wrong with you? Go to sleep. Get some rest. Damn it. Oh my gosh. Look at this. David Hogg, his humiliating meltdown at ABC News. Oh, how far they fall. They bounce really hard. On Sunday's episode of ABC News this week, former Trump White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus made mincemeat out of DNC Vice Chair David Hogg during a heated exchange as Priebus successfully cornered. I always want to say, never mind. Cornered Hogg into defending one of the Democrats' recent messaging debacles, advocating for suspected MS-13 gang member, wife beater, human trafficker who was deported. Priebus didn't hold back, ripping into the current state of the Democrat Party. They've got no message, they've got no movement, they've got no leader. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. He blasted Hogg for defending Harvard and the DNC for traveling to El Salvador for MS-13 gang members, mocking the party's apparent priorities. When the host interrupted to note that the deportee in question was only an alleged gang member, Priebus criticized Hogg's pledge to spend $20 million to primary incumbent Democrats. You're taking $20 million. It's $20 million out of the DNC's pocket, he argued. You can't be on the board of the Fishing and Forest Company on Greenpeace at the same time, calling into question the DNC's blurred lines between activism and governance. Hogg jumped in, visibly agitated. Let me push back against that, he began. This was not an MS-13 gang member, and you damn well know that. But Priebus didn't flinch. Oh, come on, he fired back. So you keep defending this guy. You're just digging your own hole. Priebus was right. Evidence of Kilmar Albergallo Garcia's connection to MS-13, it came out last week, as did court documents showing that his wife accused him of domestic abuse and that he suspected of human trafficking. Nevertheless, Hogg dug himself in deeper with the same old talking points we've heard before. Let's just watch.
Got no message. They've got no movement. They've got no leader. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. I mean, you're defending Harvard. You're traveling to El Salvador for MS-13 gang members. But here's the point.
alleged.
You're taking $20 million. If I'm looking at someone, my vice chair of the RNC, taking $20 million for another effort, it's $20 million out of the DNC's pocket. You can't be on the board of the Fishing and Forest Company and on Greenpeace at the same time. There are places for groups to hold the party accountable. I think it's right.
Well, yeah, let me push back against that. This was not an MS-13 gang member, and you damn well know that.
Oh, come on.
He was not.
Okay,
and
so
the
keep defending this guy.
The administration admitted this was wrong. In America, we have due process, and we are a land of law and order. We are a land of law and order. And this administration is repeatedly showing time and time again they do not care about what the Supreme Court says. They do not care about the rule of law. And you cannot defend sending people to another country.
Just did a poll
to another country where they don't have
Americans
rights.
Think that
he's
all
denied
illegal
counsel,
immigrants
due process,
should be
and so much
deported,
more.
by the way. So you're losing your effort. So if you want to try to defend the constitutionality of deporting a illegal immigrant that's here.
He checks in with immigration services every single year.
He's here illegally. The Intel community, every Intel community agency and the White House say he is a member of MS-13.
Hey, Reince. Okay, Reince.
Yeah. Hogg got blasted on that. Of course, the key takeaway from this exchange is that Priebus baited Hogg into defending a deeply unpopular position and forced him to prop up a deportation case that most Americans reject. And in doing so, Priebus made a compelling case that Hogg, who is more activist than strategist, is far out of his league as a vice chair of a party that's just already struggling for credibility. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy hump day. Do more humping. You'll have a better day. I guarantee it. So it's going to be better. Oh my gosh, that killed me this morning when I saw that. I was like, oh, he just had to dig himself in there. And also, it's not just that it's Wednesday. It is the day after Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. The climate crisis is fake. Today is Earth Day, when the Democrats who fly private jets around the world, buy beachfront mansions, and push environmentally toxic green energy blather about the climate crisis. You'll be happy to know that, as usual, they're lying. The globe is not about to explode into flames. Climate alarmists have been wrong in every single major prediction for well over 50 years now, and they continue their track record of complete failure and dishonesty. The myth of the average global temperature, the war against life-giving carbon, the hysteria over warming temperatures, the subsidies of solar and wind turbines, the climate lies are endless. But fortunately, we now have a president who sees right through the lies. We can hope to see the ultimate defeat of climate alarmism within the near future. I doubt it. Junk Science Steve Milloy posted Earth Day climate reports. So far, April 2025 has been more than 2 degrees cooler than April 1981 in U.S. That's 44 years of emissions and urban heat island down the drain. Of course, leftists would all you like to know that not that the warmer temperatures are beneficial for ecosystems and carbon is the basis of all life forms. Cut carbon and you kill living creatures, including humans. So even if the entire Earth were warming, the average global temperature doesn't truly exist. It wouldn't be a catastrophe. As Secretary Chris Wright said, I always talk about the trade-offs of global warming. Yes, CO2 is not a pollutant, it's plant food. So a little bit warmer planet means a little less risky for human beings. Climate deports Mark Marano humorously pretended to quote Mother Earth praising Donald Trump's climate and energy policies for Earth Day. I'm smiling in 2025 because the great orange one, aka President Donald Trump, has improved the state of my health. Trump's America First energy policy priorities readily accessible fossil fuels, which means less resource-intensive emphasis on solar, wind, and electric vehicles. This article said already my vital signs are improving. Even NASA says the carbon dioxide, the gas of life that humans exhale from their mouths, is greening my body. Climate changes with or without your SUVs. In fact, the manufacture, use, and disposal of solar and wind energy are extremely toxic to the environment and involve forced labor in Africa and China. So this Earth Day, do not fall for the lies and the propaganda and the hysteria. Take your SUV out for a drive. Eat a large steak cooked on your gas-powered stove. and enjoy a walk outside on a sunny spring weather. As over 1,600 scientists affirmed in 2023, there is no climate crisis. It's all fake propaganda to justify a leftist desperate pursuit of dictatorial power. Good morning, man. That just drives them mad, doesn't it? Like, how dare you talk about Earth like that? Well, Larry David mocks Trump as the new Austrian artist in the New York Times now, but the paper fawned over the same little artist in 1933. Imagine my surprise, writes leftist Stalin himself, comedian Larry David of New York Times op-ed Monday when the spring of 1939 a lover arrived at my house, invited me to dinner at the old chancellery with the world's most reviled man, none other than the little German artist, Austrian artist. Although Larry has looked about 105 years old for the last couple of decades and could be even older, he wasn't actually reporting on something that happened to him. He was mocking and indirectly excoriating his fellow leftist Bill Maher from meeting Trump and speaking honestly about the meeting, telling the world that Trump really wasn't an evil monster of the leftist propaganda. Yeah, wow, that's an amazing comedic idea. Trump is a little guy. Larry, how did you ever come up with this fantastic analogy that no one on planet Earth has ever thought of before? As PG Media's own Scott Pinsker put it, Larry David's op-ed was astonishingly tone deaf. It has become the 500 millionth member of the left to think it's clever, witty, and daring to compare Trump to the artist formerly known as Adolf. Scott called it correctly the dopiest, sleaziest New York Times op-ed in years. It could, in fact, be the dopiest, sleaziest, most tone-deaf New York Times article of any of its kind since July 9th, 1933, just over 5 months after the artist formerly known as Adolf became the Chancellor of Germany, the years after his virulent anti-Semitism and propensity for violence had become notorious worldwide. On that day, the New York Times published a fawning puff piece on him that rivals even today's media adulation of Camel Toe Harris during her campaign of old Joe Biden during his presidency, bears more than a little resemblance to Larry David's imaginary dinner with the artist formerly known as Adolf, but it's all too real. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist on O'Hare McCormick traveled to Berlin to become the first reporter from an American news outlet to interview the new chancellor, and she turned out to be an intriguing choice for the Times editors to make the conduct this interview, for she appears to have been something of a little fangirl. In the presence of this man whose name has become synonymous with evil, she was decidedly starry-eyed at first sight, McCormick gushed. The dictator of Germany seems rather shy and a simple man, younger than one expects, more robust, taller. His sun-browned face is full and is the mobile face of an orator. A shock of straight hair falls over his forehead. Oh, brother, and if that weren't enough, she continued like a smitten little schoolgirl. All Sophia's eyes, his eyes, she told the world, are almost the color of blue larkspur and the face behind him, curiously childlike and candid. He appears to be untired, worried. His voice is as quiet as his black tie and double-breasted black suit. Well, the artist formerly known as Adolf's slowly and solemnly bit when he smiles frequently at the course of the interview, especially when he loses himself and forgets his listener in a flood of speech. It's easy to see how he sways multitudes. What's more, Adolf, the artist formerly known as Adolf, has the sensitive hand of the artist. She tells McCormick coyly, women have always been among my staunchest supporters. They feel my victory in our victory. Cue the romantic music. As the German dictator and New York Times stare at each other insignificantly in the candlelit room. Well, little did Anne O'Hare McCormick realize, as his little blue larkspur eyes twinkled in her direction and his disarming smile made her little heart flutter, that all these years later, the New York Times would publish an article attacking an American president on the basis of supposedly being like the giant simple man who was responsible for World War and the deaths of 11 million people. Larry David, notwithstanding, Trump isn't the little artist formerly known as Adolf, but he was himself. And the New York Times missed the truth by miles regarding both men. And O'Hara McCormick's fawning over the artist formerly known as Adolf was a grotesque as Larry David's crude and unfunny analogy is today. Both David and the Times should have known better than to publish his desperately unfunny and unoriginal screed. But of course, if they did know better, they wouldn't be Larry David and the New York Times. Oh, hello, Jay. Is this guy? Good morning. Oh my gosh. Yes, we do like a little bit of the humping. Ah, yes. But we all know how the Democrats lost the immigration debate by acting like brain dead monkeys. Oh, how an awful lot of time you can gain a competitive advantage in partisan politics simply by not being a total moron. For example, take the Democrats on immigration. Electorally, it's where the Democrats are the weakest, and it's Trump's greatest strength. So if there was anyone in the Democrat Party who still had half a brain, they'd be moving heaven and earth to push the issue to a back burner, and that's a net loser for them. The more they talk about it, the more they're hurt. Some free PR advice. Every time the Dems say one thing about immigration, they ought to be saying at least 20 things about the economy, inflation, housing, the cost of living. Anything less is political malpractice because we've heard what they have to say and it's not good. Essentially, the Democrats' immigration argument is nobody has to follow any rules to enter the country, but it's anti-American and moral and racist to ignore a law when someone leaves. No need for Team Trump to prep a counter-argument. This won't be a lengthy, protracted battle for hearts and minds or a multimedia PR war. Keep your powder dry. There's nothing to fight about. The Dems' argument doesn't pass the giggle test. The American people are predisposed to disagree with Democrats anyway, and such duplicitous, bad faith argument will only solidify their loyalty to MAGA. Yet again, the Democrats are looking out for them, whereas the GOP is looking out for us. At this point, it's a theme. The Democrats fumbled the immigration PR assignment from the get-go. Their very first objective should have been to identify the most sympathetic public face of the immigration crackdown, the kindest, sweetest, most benevolent human you could find. Senior Fred Rogers, a man or a woman who is an undeniable pillar of their community, someone who exemplifies the virtues that Americans value the most, maybe a doctor, teacher, fireman. For PR purpose, they only needed one. Instead, they made Kilmar Garcia their poster boy. Allegedly, he's a gangbanging, law-breaking, violent wife beater. Oops. Yeah, it's pretty easy to see those kinds of things. Like this. District Court of Maryland for Prince George's County. As you can see, the court finds under the laws of Maryland issuing this court order that, yeah, it was, he got himself in a little bit of trouble. And right here, it says, respondent punched and scratched petitioner, ripped off shirt, grabbed and bruised petitioner. That was his wife. Yeah. That's the person they're propping up. It was a colossal unforced error, as we noted yesterday. In 1955, a brave black woman refused to go to the back of the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, when the bus driver ordered her to surrender her seat to a white woman. She stood her ground and was arrested. It kicked off Montgomery bus boycott, one of the seminal moments in civil rights history. But the brave woman I'm referring to wasn't Rosa Parks. Nothing against Miss Parks. She was, by all accounts, an exemplary woman, which was precisely why the civil rights movement trumped her story. I'm talking about Claudette Colvin. She's still alive, and just like Miss Parks, she was arrested for refusing to surrender her seat in Montgomery. She refused to bow to a racist law, and her cause was just as noble as Miss Parks. Unfortunately, Miss Colvin was also unmarried and pregnant, which back then was a big taboo, as Rosa Parks noted. If the white press got a hold of that information, they would have had a field day. They'd have called her a bad girl, and the case wouldn't have had a chance. The civil rights movement was holding a casting call for the public face of Jim Crow racism, and to their credit, they weren't interested in a DEI hire. That part went to Rosa Parks, not Claudette Colvin, because Rosa Parks had better qualifications. In the real world, optics matter. One of the telltale signs of dysfunctional political organization is its inability to pre-screen candidates, causes, surrogates, and advocates. These are all low-hanging fruit. So when you can't even do that right, it means the organization is suffering systemic strife. And the Democrats are just starting to realize that something is rotten in Denmark. The Hill recently released a absolutely hilarious article today, Republicans lean in on Garcia case. Keep in mind, the Hill is like most DC media outlets. They're left-wing, anti-Republican, and pro-Democrat. So the news they're breaking is patently obvious to conservatives, but jaw-dropping stunner for the loony left. The White House and Republicans are not shying away from battling with Democrats over the case of Kilmar Garcia, the man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Their view, it doesn't hurt President Trump and may even help him and the party. Of course, it's a winning issue. Americans support enforcing the law. Common sense tells you this, and polls confirm it. If Democrats want to talk about MS-13 gang members, we're happy to oblige them. A senior White House official told me about the messaging on the Garcia case. Well, Garcia's attorneys and family have disputed allegations. He's in MS-13, National Republican Congressional Committee. House Republicans campaign arm went as far as to offer to pay House Democrats a trip to El Salvador as they demanded Garcia's release on the condition that they live stream the whole thing and snap plenty of selfies with your MS-13 buddies. We'll pay for the plane tickets. They just can't forget to smile for the camera while they sell out their constituents. Mike Morella said in the statement Monday, coming after a group of House Democrats announced to the country. Well, remarkably, the Democrats really, truly thought this would be a winning issue for them. Senator Chris Von Hollen, Democrat, couldn't wait to fly to El Salvador and use him as a PR sock puppet. The Maryland senator, interestingly, was just named by Politico as one of the most shameless attention seekers in Congress, winning their coveted wannabe leader award. Way to go, Chris. When they thought this issue was a winner, it was all them. But now there's blowback. It's all Donald Trump's fault. That's exactly why some Democrats have been worrying about, as their colleagues sound the alarm about what they see as the underlying issue, the Trump administration appearing to ignore the Supreme Court's order to facilitate Garcia's return. Amy Klobuchar, Democrat, Minnesota, said that the CNN State of the Union on Sunday that the White House picked out this case. And this man, because it's a subject that they want to keep in the news, and California Governor Gavin Newsom said to commit to the case last week, said it was the distraction of the day. The White House picked this case, the debate we wanted, the distraction of the day. Nobody put a pew-pew to Senator Holland's head and told him to share margaritas with Kilmar Alvarado Garcia. Nobody told the Democrats to memorize his name and trumpet his cause on every political show. This was 100% their decision. It's not our fault that they're that stupid that they attacked Trump on what Gavin Newsom correctly recognizes as an 80-20 issue. That's on you. Along with Kilmar Garcia, it's time for Democrats to deport their immigration playbook. It's a loser, too, and a big one. Ah, good morning, Nancy. I was 13. Hello, Just Jay. Good to see you. Goodness, I hope everybody's having a good morning. I am enjoying my morning so far. Got a little rest last night, and it felt so good. Oh boy. And of course, let's see this one right here, if I may. The Democrat Party and their media allies are busy crafting their next political martyr, and this time the man at the center of the campaign comes with a long, troubling history. Kilmar Garcia, suspected MS-13 gang member, wife beater, human trafficker, being transformed into the cause celebrity for deportation reform. Despite all the evidence against him, according to the Political article, Democrats are doubling down on their support of him, claiming his deportation represents everything they see is wrong with the system. Maryland residents don't want him back. Watch.
He was living in Maryland, designated MS-13 terrorist, and Donald Trump deported him. How does that make you feel?
I feel safer.
He gotta go. He gotta go.
Need to go. I mean, that's it.
But he was a father.
But he was the
He's still a
father.
terrorist.
Okay. I mean, but there's children living without fathers now.
He should have picked and choose, so he picked to be a terrorist instead of worrying about his children.
The Democrats, they want him back. They say he was wrongfully deported. He has a wife and a kid who's a citizen. They're calling this a national emergency. Is this a national emergency?
I wouldn't call it national emergency. We got more things going on.
We have more things, more fish to fry.
I just found out about it, so I don't think so.
What kind of national emergency? For what? What is the emergency for?
Ain't no national emergency, no.
He was accused of hitting his wife twice and was a
I love that. Ain't no effing national emergency. Oh, hell no. Hell no. That ain't no national emergency. I gotta see that again. That was awesome. This guy right here. This guy is awesome. I love it. Oh, I gotta see that again.
Ain't no national emergency, no.
You know, imagine national emergency. Hell no. Shit. It only proves his good-ass work, nothing more. Dang. How about Harry falsifying his name on his visa? Shit. Spencer Snut Windsor. This guy's awesome. Oh man. I gotta see that again. That was just so beautiful. Oh my god. It was beautiful.
What kind of national emergency? For what? What is the emergency for?
Ain't no national emergency, no.
He was accused of hitting his wife twice and was a suspected human smuggler. Was he wrongfully deported?
No. He need to go.
If he's a smuggler, yeah, he needs to be deported.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
Your senator here, Chris Van Hollen, he flew to El Salvador where this guy was deported. He met with them, had lunch with them, had margaritas on the table. What's up with your senator?
I have no idea, but I do believe that was a waste of taxpayer dollars.
You agreeing with somebody whipping their wife, terrorizing where you live, then you don't need to live here either.
Senator Van Hollen, you need to come see me, Mr. Coley, because you doing like that. You need to take care of home before you go in other states.
He's back. I love it. This guy's awesome. I love him. I love him. This guy's awesome.
You live, then you don't need to live here either.
Senator Van Hollen, you need to come see me, Mr. Coley, because you doing like that. You need to take care of home before you go in other states.
Good job, Mr. Coley.
He went to El Salvador.
Oh, that's another country, excuse me.
What has Senator Chris Van Hollen ever done for you?
Nothing.
Nothing.
For me, nothing.
Nothing that I know of.
He ain't do me. I can admit that.
I've never even heard of this person.
Do you want Kilmar Abrego Garcia, this quote-unquote Maryland dad, living back in Maryland?
No. No.
No. No.
Not if he's doing trafficking, no.
Why the I want somebody like that back? No.
What is your message to the Democrats?
Oh, it's the Midway Bar. Oh, East Baltimore Street. This is in Baltimore. Very cool. I whenever I worked did some work for the EPA. The base was there in Baltimore, and that yeah. I've walked that street a few times. Like how he corrected himself. Yeah. Oh, God.
Trafficking, no.
Why the I want somebody like that back? No.
What is your message to the Democrats who really want him back in your community?
Why would you want that in my community? Bring it to your community and see how long you like it up there.
Leave them, or y'all go over there with them.
You're focused on the wrong thing.
If they illegal come.
Just going off on him. I love it. I love it. Oh, man. Who would have guessed that championing someone tied to human trafficking and gang activity may not be the slam dunk Democrats thinks it is? Much like their strategy in 2020, Democrats are once again courting outrage, no matter the cost to social cohesion or truth. Their hope is clear. To use this case is to advance their progressive immigration platform, turn out voters, and shift attention away from their failures. Kilmar Garcia is not a victim of the system. He's a man with a long history of criminal behavior who was justifiably deported, yet, in the hands of the Democrat Party, he's being recast as a martyr to stoke outrage, divide Americans, and push for an agenda that prioritizes political gains over public safety or societal unity. Once again, Democrats are gambling with their credibility and the nation's stability, hoping the public won't notice or won't care about the truth. Now, I'm so glad that common sense is not dead. Yeah. I mean, man, those were awesome. I love seeing those kinds of things. I love seeing those kinds of things. It is just amazing to me that people tend to forget this. That the left is losing all of their battle. They're gambling with their credibility in shot craps. Exactly. That's exactly it, Rizzo. That's exactly it. Well, I can say that, though, with a little bit of glee, that CNN just pulled the rug out from under CNN's Caitlin Collins. CNN's segment this week might have just pulled the rug out from under CNN's own Caitlin Collins as the network finally gets around to reporting the truth about Joe Biden. A new report on the Biden's latest tell-all book is simply devastating when seen alongside a resurfaced clip of Collins last June lying to her audience about Biden's condition. President Biden has spent days locked in intense preparation, surrounded by his closest advisors at Camp David, Collins said at the time. And our sources are telling us tonight that full mock debates were underway at the podium under their lights. And as I reported while covering him at the White House, when Biden prepares, he does so incredibly intensively. Well, her sources lied. Collins lied, but Collins was just among many, and they weren't alone. Anyone watching Biden on TV knew the only thing he did intensely was try to remember how to put one foot in front of the other. Anyone covering him at the White House knew that things were even worse than that. Perhaps the only reason Collins isn't the worst reporter in D.C. is that there's no way to pick just one from the incestuous pool of quasi-government spokesmodels who cosplay as journalists on TV. Reporters assured shrinking audiences that their sources assured them that Biden was just like Batman, only smarter, and just like Superman, only stronger. So the point isn't that this or that particular quasi-governmental spokesmodel was worse than this or that one, except for maybe Chuck Todd, late of NBC News, who strikes me as the kind of guy who routinely gets outwitted by his soup. This was the biggest and worst cover-up in American history. We had an administration with no presidents, effectively run by whoever could get to the auto pen first, and the people tasked with reporting the facts lied to our faces. I only single out Collins today for a couple of reasons. One is that her White House-approved salesmanship was among the smarmiest and most self-righteous, and the other is that her employer, CNN, effectively sold her out for flogging Chris Whipple's new tell-all, Uncharted, how Biden beat Harris, and how Trump beat Biden Harris in the odds in the wildest campaign in history. So here's CNN's Abby Phillips, the rug puller extraordinaire. Just watch.
President Biden has spent days locked in intense preparation, surrounded by his closest advisors at Camp David. And our sources are telling us tonight that full mock debates are underway at the podium, under the lights. He's even watching tape to know exactly what he's going to see when he steps up to that lectern. His team shot a video during a walkthrough of the CNN studio. And as I reported while covering him at the White House, when Biden prepares, he does so incredibly intensively.
So just how worried were Biden aides before the former president's disastrous debate last summer? According to Ron Klain, his chief of staff, his concerns could not be overstated. At his first meeting with Biden for debate prep, Quote, Klain was startled. He'd never seen Biden so exhausted and so out of it. Biden was unaware of what was happening in his own campaign. Halfway through the session, the president excused himself and went off to sit by the pool. Part about the pool, he went off, this is in the middle of debate prep, went off to the pool and he took a nap.
Mm-hmm. I remember when Camel Toe went to my favorite Mexican restaurant and everyone walked out vowing to never return. I found out the owner was on vacation. When he got back, fired the bum that invited her. Oh, plus we have a former president that let illegals and criminal illegals live here. Crazy how that works, isn't it? Well, Uncharted is no tell-all. It's merely the third book in recent weeks, breathlessly exposing what everybody with eyes already knew. The only news in these books are whatever salacious details the authors scooped from various insiders. The other two are original sin. President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and its disastrous choice to run again by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, and Jonathan Allen and Amy Perez's fight inside the wildest battle for the White House. If any of these printing prelates to the propaganda give a damn about their reputation, they'd bow and scrape for forgiveness. And I mean that literally, or retire in humiliation from public life completely. The shame of it is that they're incapable of shame. Instead, they're still on TV, hawking their books and selling their swamp-approved lies. Had any of these so-called journalists done their job in 2019 or 2020, Sundown Joe would have ridden off into the sunset 5 years sooner as former vice president of no particular merit, instead of it as at least the competent president since Jimmy Carter and the most destructive since Woodrow Wilson. The only thing more disqualifying than Biden's condition was that the media had a big refusal to even report on it. Ah, how sweet it is. Well, to be fair, napping Z can be pretty incredibly intensive depending on who you're napping with. Oh, don't be so nappy. What? Plus, we had a former president that illegals, criminals. Yeah, that is absolutely correct. And, one can't let a moment of this go by without realizing that I need to get myself some more coffee. I'll be back in 3 minutes, 11 seconds.
Step aside, y'all, it's my time to shine. I'm feeling the groove with these hips of mine. Hands in the air like spaghetti gone rogue. My knees are jelly and my hips just broke. Shaking it, breaking it, what a blast. Wobble it, wiggle it, shake that ass. Do a jig or a jog, wiggle it to the side. Or break that hip bone by moving your ass. Step up or stand aside. Like a rusty hinge. My fingers point like they're on a binge. Twirl like a tornado, then drop real low. It's not planned, it's a shit sideshow. I've got the rhythm of a clock that's broke. My dance floor moves are a big effing joke. Shaking it, breaking it, what a blast. Wobble it, wiggle it, shake that ass. Do a jig or a jog, wiggle it to the side. Or break that hip bone by moving your ass. Step up or stand aside. Rig like lava lamp, mesmerizing glow. You can't help but watch me steal the show. I summon the shake, the shimmy, the twist, a mix of genius and a big old fist. You're drawn in close, your feet start to twitch, feeling the groove like a broke-ass bitch. Yeah! Shaking it, breaking it, what a blast. Wobble it, wiggle it, shake that ass. step up or stand aside. Now we're all in the shake, no need to be shy. Move like spaghetti and reach for the sky. We'll dance like we're cursed, laugh to a soar. Shizzy Whiz nut reigns forevermore. So join the dance, let your weirdness unfurl. We're shaking ass, not a care in the world.
Oh, yeah, and we're back again. Ooh, just for a little more. The morning briefing. Gosh, I'm gone for a few days, and the Democrats have gotten worse. Steven Cruiser. Gotta love it. Top of the morning. Happy Wednesday, dear Cruiser morning friends. Of course, I will begin by thanking my friends Chris Queen and Kevin Downey Jr. for enabling me to have a perfectly magical Easter weekend with my loved ones. It was the first time in probably 20 years that I've been with my immediate family for a holiday, and the first time in 8 years that my daughter and I had gotten to spend Easter together. Her boyfriend passed the Meet the Michigan family test, including a fairly buzzed dad talk. The whole thing was topped off yesterday morning when I found out that Cruiser Kid at Twitter X legendary hashtag passed the New York bar exam. Nothing but a proud dad vibes all around here. So congratulations, Stephen. Regulars here know that I'm very passionate and dedicated to my work, but when I'm not working, I'm really double secret probation not working. The only way I'll check the news is if I hear a warhead whistling towards me, and then it's a little too late. Because of that most necessary habit, whenever I surface to the weekday political news cycle, it's like getting hit with a fire hose of ice water that's mixed with fresh ghost pepper sauce. Yes, I know that the year of our Lord 2025 version of the Democrats is thoroughly awful, but oh yeah, reawakening is redolent in the brushness. Here's my main point. Everything that's going on right now, the worst thing that the Democrats are lying about what President Trump is doing isn't bad as at least the worst thing they're actually doing. These are not good people. Well, the people who are running the Democrat Party down through the circles of hell aren't anyway. There is a wealth of these people are mind-numbingly awful material out there. And I just definitely want to say that Sarah pulled me back into the political maelstrom of the headline. Why can't they just blame the rule breakers for once? And thank you. The absence of accountability has been bedeviling the Republic for far too long now. It's what has gotten us into almost every mess we're in. It's easy to make the case that it's a bipartisan problem, but it's even easier to prove that the Democrats who benefit the most from not getting comeuppance often enough. My good friend and partner in thought crime, Stephen Green, wrote a column yesterday about the unmitigated chicanery of the Democrats flying monkeys in the mainstream media. And trust me, my friends, there's some juicy video in Stephen the Younger's column. Kevin Downey Jr. took a look at the Attorney General of his home state, and Letitia James is unfortunately the law chief enforcement officer of the state of New York. That really does give her some leeway until other jurisdictions are involved, doesn't it? I mean, if the top cop decides it's not a problem, who cares, right? Let's hope consequences make a solid comeback. Note on the death of Pope Francis. Sorry, kids, I'm not the conservative media bash Francis bandwagon. I'm dismayed by the pile-on there has been on this side. I know that even saying this is going to get more pile-on. I've been asked a lot to write on defense of my beliefs on this subject, but I'm going to have to pray harder to respond charitably to what I've read in the last few days. I did cover a lot of what I think about the latest episode of Faith all over the place, but remember that is everything isn't awful. Oh, absolutely. But it would, as they're going to be talking about Dirty Tish round one, by the time I moved to New York City in 1986, the Crazy Eddie consumer electronics chain was legendary. The Crazy Eddie company, owned by Eddie and Sam Antar, owned 43 stores throughout New York, New Jersey, and the Connecticut tri-state area. The company was known for wacky commercials that people either loved or hated. But when I was a mere 20 years old, a lady friend of mine told me she'd never seen an adult romance film but wanted to. I ran out of her apartment and sped to Crazy Eddie's, purchased my first VCR, and found a VHS smoker film in about an hour. At the time, few knew that Crazy Eddie's empire was built on fraud. The Antars paid their employees off the books, swiped sales taxes, and lied about everything to show a profit. Story short, the chain was dead by 1989. Investigators found decades of fraud. Lawsuits kicked in, and by 1997, Sam Antar was sentenced to 8 years in prison. Today, Antar is on a mission to send New York's detestable Marxist Attorney General Letitia James to the Hooskow for fraud, and who better to sniff out Dirty Tish's business boondoggles than the man who perfected it for decades? If you don't believe, here's Crazy Eddie.
It's Crazy Eddie's greatest stereo sale ever. Get anything and everything in stereo equipment. Get it all now during Crazy Eddie's greatest stereo sale ever. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
Yeah. That's him. Letitia James says she won't bow to anyone, neither will I. I know every trick in the book, every trick that's been left out of the book, and every trick you're thinking about doing but haven't done yet. I spent 20 years of committing financial fraud at Crazy Eddie. Crazy show. Just watch. Let's pull this thing up if we've got it. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Check this out. Nope, I got it on the wrong tab. Here we go.
Did anybody contact you before this letter went out accusing you of this, that, and the other and making a criminal referral about real estate transactions?
No, not at all. And let me just say to all New Yorkers and to all Americans, the allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour. And as you mentioned, my office was successful in securing a $454 million judgment against Donald Trump and others for exaggerating the value of his assets. He engaged in a pattern and practice of fraud. And the interest is accruing each and every day while the case is on appeal in the First Department.
Well, it can't, because while it's on appeal, it puts a stay on it, you incompetent twit.
It's important that individuals know that this is nothing more than the continuation of the tour. He went after law firms, universities, immigrants, women.
Yeah, you're reading this off of a script, lady.
Thousands of federal employees right now are unemployed. Our government is in chaos and in disarray.
Oh, is it? Is it really? Is our government actually in chaos and disarray? No.
Medicaid, Social Security.
And none of those are being touched.
CFPB, and the list goes on and on and on. And as you know, as you mentioned, each and every day, my office is leading the fight against these executive orders, which have no legal import at all.
Lady, you're horrible.
Have no legal significance. And we are standing up for the rights and privileges of New Yorkers and Americans. I will not be silenced. I will not be bullied. I will not bend. I will not break. And I will not bow to anyone. Oh. Well, we'll see about that. Andrew is accusing James of mortgage fraud. Lots of it. Perhaps even decades of it, as there is evidence James has a long history of flipping houses for profit. Publicly, James appears to be defiant, but if the accusations are true, and more are coming out every few days, James's legal issue, which seems cut and dried, might send New York salad-dodging, Trump-hating AG to the same destination she tried to send Trump, prison, for crimes similar to that which she charged Trump. Factorama, if Tish is so sanguine about her innocence, why did she hold on an $18,000 per person fundraiser at her friend's apartment? As our own Ethna Thorne has reported the felonies some federal are stacking up against James faster than I can nuke my Jiffy Pop. Athena wrote, "We're talking about Letitia. No one is above the law. James, a poster child for the weaponized justice system that tried to sandbag and impoverish Donald Trump and put him away for the rest of his life. As they say, if you're going to take a shot at the king, you better not miss. Or in this case, you better not have an apparent pattern of fraudulent real estate transactions." Athena also reported that one of James's earliest mortgage fraud issues goes back to 1983 when she pretended her dad was her husband. To quote Athena, "First of all, ew, I couldn't have said it better myself." One of James's biggest problems is that almost everyone hates her. Her AG campaign slogan was something akin to "elect me and I will get Trump," who went on to win a resounding victory on election day. He even scored a larger portion of the black male vote and Hispanic vote than any Republican in recent history. Two groups likely thought she couldn't count on for support, perhaps even a jury.
Hi there. I'm a reporter with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
You're trespassing.
I'm sorry.
Trespassing. My kids around here.
I understand. We mean no trouble. We're just curious who the occupants of the home are,
Don't
because
worry
there's
about who's occupants. That's none of your business.
well there
You're
are connections to
Okay, but
New
you're
York Attorney
trespassing.
General Letitia
That doesn't
James.
matter. You're trespassing.
Are you related to
You're
Letitia James?
trespassing. You're trespassing. Go in the house.
Do you know
You're
Letitia James?
trespassing.
No?
You're
Okay.
trespassing.
No comment. Thank you,
Don't
ma'am.
come to my house no more.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. You have a good one.
It's gonna be problems.
You will.
Tish is blaming Trump for her legal predicament, but Antar, for reasons I do not yet know, is spearheading this charge. Antar reported on Tuesday that he has thus far sniffed out 10 fraudulent mortgages on James's name. James likes to buy 5-unit homes and tell the mortgage company the buildings contain only 4. Antar spelled out how she profits by this. 5-unit buildings are way more expensive to buy. Higher interest rates, typically 0.5 to 0.75 higher than residential loans. Larger down payment requirements, often 25 to 30% versus 15 to 20 for residential. More stringent debt service coverage ratio requirements, completely different underwriting standards, ineligibility for residential mortgage relief programs like the Home Affordable Modification Program. James is also accused of lying on mortgage papers by claiming various homes in her primary residence, a move that would save her money on her mortgages. She recently maintained her innocence until a wiffle ball interview on New York One, a local New York City cable default station. "Let me just say to all New Yorkers and to all Americans, allegations are baseless," James declared. "The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour." Fulton County, Georgia DA Fannie Willis also tried to send Trump to prison, but like so many Marxist Democrats, was also found to be ample hops deep in skullduggery. James is playing the poor me, Trump just wants revenge card, even though it was the director of federal housing, the FHFA, William J. Pulte, who dropped the dime on her. Back to Rama, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, working with the Trump-hating judge Merchan, convicted Trump employee Alan Weisenberger, 75, of tax fraud involving for failing to report a rent-free apartment perks and tuition for his grandkids' tuition on his taxes. He served 4 of a 5-month sentence. So now what? The good news for Dirty Tish is that she could survive a legal battle with Marxist-friendly New York courtroom. Communists will always defend one another. The bad news, according to Bill O'Reilly, who appeared on Tuesday's Mark Simone radio program, is that she should expect to spend a cool $1 million on her legal defense, not to mention that mortgage fraud frequently brings down a prison sentence. James may be forced to resign in disgrace. Governor Kathy Hochul could fire James, but that seems unlikely as she hasn't fired Bragg for all but creating the Big Apple's current violent crime wave. Money, freedom, her job. James stands to lose a great deal. The potential winners here are Antar, laughing Trump, and we the people, as we get a first-row ticket to what should be the end of Letitia James's career as a filthy, dirty little communist. Speaking of filthy, dirty little communists, have a good day. Have a good one. I have my favorites. Tammy Cruz. Have a good day. Reverend Rent-Free Warnock living at large on congregations dime, says ethics watchdog. Senator Raphael Warnock, Democrat in Georgia, lives rent-free in $1 million luxury home, and one watchdog group wants the GOP-controlled Senate to look at his cozy situation as a possible ethics violation. The senator hasn't paid a penny out of his own pocket to live there, Andrew Kerr reported yesterday for the Washington Free Beacon, because the church where he serves as a part-time pastor is footing the bill. Warnock's lavish DeKalb County home came equipped with a plethora of luxury accommodations, including a 100-bottle wine fridge, a Bluetooth-enabled cooking range, and remote-controlled privacy curtains. The foundation, bless America. Ah, good Lord, my lovely wife sending me messages about bananas. She's like, stop buying me bananas. She doesn't realize that I'm going to have some. The Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trucks filed a complaint this week claiming that Warnock's free luxury housing arrangements likely violates the Ethics in Government Act. Possible sanctions include public reprimand, fines, or censure, which probably doesn't have Warnock losing any sleep at night in his luxury bed. As I keep reminding people, the real scandal isn't the ethics violations that Congress critters get away with, but what's allowed by ethics rules they write for themselves. In other words, I'm not expecting much, if anything, to develop from Fact's complaint. To be fair, $1 million home ain't what it used to be. You hardly have to be in the richest, nicest part of town anymore to find a $1 million home after another. And if you head down to Best Buy today, you might have a hard time finding a cooktop that doesn't have Bluetooth. But even if things like remote control privacy curtains aren't as exclusive as they once were, getting them on someone else's dime certainly lends to aristocratic charm that clashes with Thomas Jefferson's Republican simplicity. Here's the thing, $1 million home with a 100-bottle wine fridge is out of reach for most of Warnock's constituents and for his part-time flock too, which is fine, I suppose, since Congress critters earn a comfortable, if not exactly extravagant, six-figure salary. But what isn't so fine is that Warnock, by the grace of his position as a representative of the people, doesn't have to pay for what his constituents can only dream of. That's hardly representative of the people, isn't it? Getting elected to Congress, particularly the Senate, where expansive statewide elections forge incumbency into almost an immovable object, is a ticket to the good life paid by others. Warnock's nice house is paid for by his congregation. His steakhouse dinners are paid for by lobbyists. His travel is paid for by me and you. His financial gains, and I'm making an informed guess here, are likely earned by having insider knowledge unavailable to the typical investor. But I'm only picking on Warnock because he's the latest example. If there's just one of these 538 jokers who didn't get their standard of living elevated the day they got elected, I'd like to know who they are so I can single them out for praise. And I'm not kidding about that. As fun as it is writing up one grifting fraudster after another, being able to highlight an ethical Congress sitter might be a welcome change from more of the grifting same. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, and more of our great state. Looks like he'll be running a prison ministry soon. I don't think thou shalt not drop the soap is in the Bible. No, they won't do anything. This is why Florida is clogged with New Yorkers. Yes. Because we also have Stacey's Webb. Oh, yes, Chris Queen, a Georgia native who's lived here for the vast majority of his life. I care about my home state. That's why I pushed so hard against Stacey Abrams, the gap-toothed congressman or governor that tried to run for governor. Abrams was a radical as a politician. She's radical in whatever she's doing now. It's worth noting that she hasn't given up on the idea of running for office again. Politics will always be a part of who I am. It's one of the ways I engage in the world, but that's not my focus right now, she told Ebony magazine in 2023. But we have some important elections coming up, and I'll always engage in the political space. Just like your teeth. I'm not sure when I will run for office again, but my mission is to continue to contribute. Her other mission is to continue to milk politics for financial gain, as a trio of real clear investors. Pieces from last week demonstrate, of course, we're aware of the massive climate change grant that an entity with Abrams' fingerprints all over it received from the Biden administration. RCI's Paul Sperry points out that those reliably left-wing fact-checkers have fallen all over themselves to claim that Abrams had nothing to do with the grant, but she and her partner in the organization admitted in a podcast that they were the driving force in securing that grant. Sperry reveals that Abrams' partner helped draft the 2022 Biden legislation that created the $27 billion Green Fund that Rewiring and its coalition were able to tap into 2 years later. Abrams has made bank from her political activities in a way that would make Horatio Alger blush in another investigation in her remarkable financial turnaround. Not only is that a nice way to rake in the dough, but could also serve as a foolproof method for generating goodwill among potential Democrat voters. Despite a history marked by bill collectors' tax lien ethics investigation, the Georgia politician and Democrat Party activist has managed to amass a small fortune while working most of her career for the not-for-profit sector. Financial records show that when she first entered statewide politics in 2018, she reported a net worth of less than $109,000. But by 2022, the last year, she had to publicly file a financial report. It had grown to more than $3.2 million. Abrams is probably even better off than that, thanks to her latest venture, Rewiring America, which uses federal funds to provide low-income people with free electric appliances. I've always been concerned about the leveraging public service to enrich yourself. William Perry, a progressive ethics watchdog in Georgia, told Sperry. Perry claims that Abrams has more documented cases of ethics violations than any candidate for statewide office in the history of the Peach State. Abrams has also made some money off her side hustle as author of romance novels she claims to write under the pen name Selena Montgomery, but newer editions of the books feature Stacey Abrams in massive letters with writing as Selena Montgomery and a noticeably smaller font below it. There is no secret who's the mastermind behind these tawdry tomes. Now, romance novels aren't my bag, but I stumbled across some excerpts. Y'all, this stuff is intense and unintentionally hilarious. I had to dig to find some lines that weren't too hot for a website for decent people, but here's some samples. "Watch me love you," he commanded silently. "Know that I will always be a part of you." By design, he flowed over every inch of her gossamer skin in voracious, tender assault. By turns, he stole her soul, destroying her with generosity she scarcely understood from hidden sins. She propped herself up, gave herself the satisfaction of studying him, such a beautiful man, lean, muscular, and amazing agile. Once more he'd driven her to madness, pleasured her in the torrent of release, and she'd returned to favor. His feverish groans and attentive suggestions still rang against her overly sensitive flesh. The last one had nearly toppled him off to bed. From Deception. "The rhythm caught them both, driving them to demand and offer. Endlessly, wonderfully, they fell into the green darkness and fought to give more than either could have imagined. An explosion, his, hers, theirs, brought to twin cries and release." From Reckless. This stuff is awful, but it hasn't stopped her psychopaths from acting like she's the second coming of D.H. Lawrence or even Jackie Collins. Eric Kong of Asian American Advocacy wrote at Medium shortly after the 2022 election, which Abrams lost handily. "The biggest conclusion from my experiment, Stacey Abrams should definitely be Georgia's next governor." Why? Because Abrams' relationship with Georgia is much like the one she writes about as Selena Montgomery. She truly and deeply loves this state. She believes in Georgia, not just in the empty way that politicians sometimes promise they do. Her novels show me that she cherishes all of it, even parts that can be a little difficult to love. Emphasis on the original. I don't know whether to laugh or to vomit. Finally, there's what Sperry calls a dizzying array of nonprofits and LLCs, some of which commingle funds. Several of them have no office, no staff, and an address listed as Abrams' multi-million-dollar home located in the ritzy radical area around Emory University. A number of them have failed, dissolved, or have fallen into debt and had tax liens attached, and some are under state or federal investigation. Sperry reports, and here's the list: Verified Inc., Verified Action, Verified PAC, Verified Georgia, Fair Count, New Georgia Project, New Georgia Action Fund, Southern Economy Advancement Project, American Pride Rises, APR Network, SageWorks LLC, SageWorks Productions, Now Account Corp., Now Account Network Corp., Now Corp USA, Nourish, Insomnia Consulting, Insomnia Group, Third World Sector Development, Voter Access Institute, Marina Strategies, The Family Room Inc., Selena Technologies Inc., Abrams Legal Services LLC, Davis Hall LLC, Hall Davis LLC, Brockton Hall LLC. Perish the thought. But if Abrams runs for anything, don't fall for the lie that she's for the little people. She's found a niche among the wealthy. She's woven a web to make sure of that. Win or lose, she benefits financially. No doubt she's laughing all the way to the bank with her lefty green grants, cringy novels, and LLCs. It's all about Benjamins for Stacy. She and Michael Stranded would make a very cute couple. If Abrams loses 5 stones, she'll still weigh more than Jabba the Hutt. Oh, come on now. She's not that large. She's just really short. That's all. Why is Georgia, a red state, covered with these loonies? Because they live in the cities. You have to remember that even as Georgia, because I live here in Georgia, as red of a state as Georgia is, if you get people in the cities where you've got the more populous, the higher amount of population. This is why Democrats continue to populate areas like Savannah, Augusta, Atlanta, Fulton County, DeKalb County, Clayton County. These all tend to be these are in the major cities. So that's why you see it. That's why you see all of these people flocking to those cities. You look elsewhere and it's pretty straight up Republican. I mean, it's not long ago that I had a chance to sit down with someone that ran for governor in the state of Georgia, and you wouldn't believe the stories that he had to tell. It was pretty interesting. But again, there's no fixing these people. There's no fixing these people. I'm doing good. Major cities is where the major money is. Exactly. Sounds like money laundering ink. Yeah. What? Yeah, that's exactly why. But did you hear about the terrible thing Ivanka Trump did? Oh my God. So terrible. So terrible. Did you hear about it? I haven't heard about it. Warning, what I'm about to write may shock you, but I felt our readers needed to know exactly what kind of person Ivanka Trump, daughter of President Donald Trump, truly is. You might want to make sure you're sitting down for this. Last week, the first daughter took a vacation, spent time with her husband and children and some of her husband's family. Well, not only did they take a vacation, but they took it in Costa Rica, and they actually enjoyed themselves. They surfed, read books, rode horses, explored the beautiful nature of the country that the country has to offer. They even swam next to a waterfall. Of the trip, she said, spending Passover and Easter week surrounded by the raw beauty of Costa Rica was a gift beyond words. Time slowed. We surfed under golden skies, zipped through the jungle canopy, leapt onto cool waterfalls, read until the sun dipped low, and surrendered to stillness and deep sleep. But more than the adventure, this week was about reconnecting with the earth, with faith and one another, logging off and tuning in, grounding in nature's rhythm, feeling the sacred in the silence and the laughter of my children in the breath of the trees. But oh wait, it gets worse. Ivanka actually posted about the trip on Instagram, including several amazing photos that show her and her son having a good time. She even dared to send the following message to her 8.3 million followers. My heart is full of gratitude for these moments of togetherness and renewal, wishing you all the same kind of peace and presence wherever you are. Oh, look at all those wonderful pictures. Not bad, Ivanka. Having a good time. Look at that. Riding horses, beautiful sunsets, kids on the beach, Ivanka in a bikini, and reading books, kids playing, her surfing, beautiful sunsets, horseback riding, more horseback riding at sunset, horseback riding, more horseback riding. Ah, so horrible. Hopefully you figured out that I was being sarcastic. I was also mocking an article posted on the New York Magazine's Intelligencer website, written by an Intelligencer senior editor, Margaret Hartman. The title of the article is "Ivanka Wishes Us Peace While Flaunting Costa Rica Trip." If you can make it through the body, it includes gems like this. Since that 2022 announcement, Ivanka has kept to herself as she raises her family in Miami, but occasionally the eldest Trump daughter can't resist the urge to share trite wellness advice or show off her lavish lifestyle to the public. Ivanka engaged in a bit of both on Tuesday with social media posts that flaunted her recent trip to Costa Rica, while simultaneously expressing tone-deaf hopes that we all find moments of rest, beauty, and reconnection, even if we can't afford an idyllic vacation. And this one, of course, for Ivanka's audience, whenever they are is in Trump's increasingly authoritarian America, it's hard to find peace and presence when you're stressing about the impact of Trump's chaotic tariffs, arbitrary Doge cuts, and various threats to civil liberties. But perhaps we should just be grateful that Ivanka spared us the kind thought for us plebs. I don't think that you need to point out that the author of this story suffers from some major Trump derangement syndrome. Her entire tremendous content column is filled with hateful articles on topics ranging from Donald Trump's hair to, well, his daughters, who has absolutely nothing to do with his administration. Family vacation. And they date back to 2022, when Trump wasn't even in office. Personally, I can't imagine being filled with so much rage over a single politician that I would dedicate an entire article to mocking their child for taking a vacation. And if I ever do reach that point, I would rather think that maybe I am the one who needs a vacation, a long one. As a matter of fact, this particular article comes across with a hint of jealousy. Perhaps that's exactly what the author of this article needs, a vacation. May I recommend Costa Rica? No, seriously, I've been to that country at least half a dozen times in the last 2 years. I spent months there. I've hiked and driven ATVs through those jungles, swam in the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean, watched some of the most amazing wildlife in the world, visited waterfalls, explored every corner of the country, and soaked up all the nature and culture the place has to offer. I do not have Ivanka Trump money. I don't even have random third cousin once removed Trump money. It's a great place to find exactly the piece of present that seems to be lacking with so many of the liberal media. I'd be glad to share some travel tips with Hartman or anyone else who is feeling just a bit stressed out these days. Just let me know. Here, Brazilians. She should be arrested. How dare she? Yes, I know. How dare she have a good vacation? I mean, it's so wrong of her. She should know better. She should know so much better. But at least I'm not UK's Starmer. Because Starmer discovers what a woman is because the court tells him so. Sorry, UK. Keir Starmer identifies as Prime Minister of Britain, and no one is challenging his self-identification, so it could well be more or less accurate. Nonetheless, it's clear that whatever else may be, Starmer is a typically early 21st century leftist. For such people, if that is indeed what the identity is being, truth is an entirely subjective matter based more upon how someone is feeling and what he or she or Z desires rather than objective reality. So Starmer has just announced that a woman is indeed an adult female, but not just because every human being, since there have been human beings, has known this, but because the British court has just said so. It's quintessential leftism. Remember the famous scene in Orwell's 1984 when the torturer O'Brien forces the insipid independent thinker Winston Smith to affirm that 2 + 2 = 5. The idea was to impress upon Winston the principle that reality was not what one sees with one's own eyes, but what the ruler says it is. It's the apex of totalitarian control. And it's today's shattered, staggering Demi Britain. Sky News reported Tuesday that Starmer was asked if he believed a trans woman should be considered a woman, and Starmer gave the perfect response of a man who is convinced that 2 + 2 = 5 if his socialist master says woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. What Starmer and every other sentient human being who has ever been asked this question should have said is that men are men and women are women, and everyone knows what the differences between them are, and no one needs a court to say so. He could have even added in that men can't become women and women can't become men, and no amount of surgery and cosmetics will change that fact. Instead, Starmer made it clear that if the court said that a woman was a table or a head of lettuce or an alarm clock, he would have to accept it just as readily as he is now prepared to accept that a woman is an adult human female. His own perceptions don't matter in the slightest degree. All that matters is what the relevant authority has declared. If Britain were remotely a sane society today, this would cost Starmer the Prime Minister's office, but he is in no electoral danger. His answer likely didn't differ any substantial way from the answer that the leaders of the other parties would have given. What is needed to restore sane rule to Britain and so many Western European states is not the new prime minister or president or chancellor or whatever, but a wholesale repudiation of the entire political class, which has uncritically embraced the left's guiding fantasies and delusions. The leftist political elites, however, are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that won't happen. Starmer doesn't face any real threat from the thoroughly compromised Conservative Party, and his regime is ruthlessly hounded. The only real threat to his agenda. Anyhow, the freedom fighter Tommy Robinson, not only has Robinson been unjustly imprisoned on a civil charge, but he's in solitary confinement. And he just lost an appeal against inhumane conditions in which he's being held. It looks as if Starmer's regime is doing everything it can to ensure that if Tommy emerges from prison at all, he will not be in any condition to mount any real challenge to the regime. British authorities have also banned the French writer Renaud Camus from entering the country on the highly dubious grounds that this 78-year-old's intellectual entry would not be conducive to the public good. Camus is a ferocious critic of the mass migration program that successive British governments have been pursuing for years, and now his dissent from the government's agenda is grounds to bar someone from the country. Actually, it's been this way for many years now. I myself was banned from entering Britain back in 2013 for daring to point out that the religion of Islam has doctrines involving warfare against unbelievers. This was like banning me from saying water is wet. When a government goes to war against the obvious truth, that government has departed from anything that could command the loyalty of its citizens except brute force. That was the worst part of Starmer's declaration of acceptance of the court's decision about what a woman is. Behind the absurdity is the brute force he is willing to bring against dissidents. Tommy Robinson knows what that's like. Many more Britons will find out, so much more before this is over. I identify as an astroturfer. How much water do you have to have under your board for that? I'm just curious. Become an astroturfer. I always wondered about that. I mean, are you looking for good waves or you just like big mounds of grass to roll around in? I've never understood that. The biggest problem was the Channel Tunnel. They should have kept the French out. Well, I mean, you have to remember that the Britons went over to France first. They had you have to remember that England, if you ever go to the national, the British Museum of whatever, it's in Britain, their big museum there. Find yourself a good curator, because they'll explain to you that all of their historical things that they have in there, they didn't once like find those. They stole them from other places. I mean, seriously, they're good at stealing. It's a tough gig. Yeah, they're good. Britain's really good at stealing things from other countries. Really good at it. Like, so much. Oh, so much. Well, let's see what this next little story is. Oh my. and maybe I have enough time to do a little bit. Let me see if I have a little bit of time to do that in the first place. Yeah, I'm going to check and see something here. And if it is available, I've been having problems with these lately. Let's see what happens if I pull up this one. Yes. I do have something that I thought was really interesting. I thought you guys might like it. I want you to, calm down, take a deep breath. And this is a very, very, very important message I want you to understand. I've got to make sure that the sound is down because it's got music that might get me in trouble. But this is for you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Some of you may already know, but I need to say it out loud. Not for you, for me. I can't keep pretending anymore. After a lot of prayer and reflection, I finally accepted the truth. And the truth is, you're gay. Cinco de Mayo celebrates a military victory against the French. Everybody else calls it Monday. So true. That's so true. But I do have the alphabet according to Arnold.
A is for B is for
Bullshit.
C is for
Come with me if you want to live.
D is for
Dylan! You son of a bitch.
E is for
Enough talk.
F is for
Fine chariot, but where's the horses?
G is for
Get to the chopper!
H is for
Hasta la vista, baby.
I is for
I'll be back.
J is for
Jesus Marge! What the fuck?
K is for
Knock, knock.
L is for
I lied.
M is for
Mac.
N is for
No more complaining. No more Mr. Kimball have to go to the bathroom. Nothing.
O is for
One ugly motherfucker.
P is for
Put that cookie down! Now!
Q is for
Quick, because my horse is getting tired.
R is for
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
S is for
Sure. Here's my invitation.
T is for
Talk to the hand.
U is for
He had to split.
V is for
Very hungry.
W is for
Wrong.
X is for Y is for
You're fired.
Z is for
Zero! Now, plane zero!
You guys would like that one. I like that one, but this one is especially for J Hip because I know that J Hip is, he's into this kind of thing. Just saying. I've got to get the music for it though. I do have to get the music for it. Are you ready? Let me find the correct music. It is let's see. We'll use this one right here because I think this is the perfect music. Oh, that's totally my thing. Okay, explain yourself. It's love. Not Craig's type. I'm sorry, that one, James, I'm a little smitten. Oh my gosh. Oxford caught promoting anti-Christian pro-Islamic propaganda through fake history. A well-known book published by the Oxford University Press sarcastically claims that God may indeed have wished it, the First Crusade, to liberate Jerusalem, but there's certainly no evidence that the Christians of Jerusalem did, or that anything extraordinary was occurring. To pilgrims were to prompt such a response at that moment in history. En contraire, below we expose this flagrant lie published by the world's foremost academic press, no less by quoting from one contemporary source after another, all of which make it abundantly clear that the Christians of Jerusalem and pilgrims to the Holy Land were being horrifically persecuted in desperate need of aid. And I'm not going to play it, but you can get the gist. Well, maybe I will play it. Let's
in an
see.
earlier video.
Yeah, 8 minutes and 45 seconds. And this comes from Ramond Ibrahim, expert in Islamic history and doctrines, author of Defenders of the West. Make sure that you go sub up to him if you possibly can. You can find him on YouTube. Just look up Raymond Ibrahim. It's Ibrahim. You can go look him up if you want to find out more about this. And let me see. I think I can. There we go. I can share this link. Open, copy link address. There we go. All right. And I'll post that up there so you too can go find this. Paste that right there. There you go. That should come up. That you can find the same exact video right there.
Video, we looked at one of the most egregious examples of fake history. Georgetown University professor John Esposito's famous claim that, quote, 5 centuries of peaceful coexistence elapsed before political events and an imperial papal power play led to centuries-long series of so-called holy wars that pitted Christendom against Islam and left an enduring legacy of misunderstanding and distrust. That's from his book, Islam, the Straight Path, page 64. Esposito is saying that from the very start, Muslims and Christians had always lived in peaceful coexistence, until those pesky medieval Christians decided to ruin it all by launching the First Crusade. In reality, however, and as I discussed more thoroughly in the previous video, those 5 centuries of peaceful coexistence featured Islam violently conquering 3/4 of the Christian world, with all the usual massacres, mass enslavements, and the systematic destruction of churches, 30,000 of them in just 1 year alone, 1009. The First Crusade came in response to all these ongoing attacks against Christianity, which in the decades before it was called for in 1095, had further witnessed the slaughter and enslavement of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of more Christians, especially Armenians, according to Matthew of Edessa, the chronicler. At any rate, and as it happens, Esposito offers more outlandish lies on the self-same page where his famous 5 centuries of peaceful coexistence quote appears. After mentioning how Pope Urban II called for the First Crusade at the Council of Clermont, and how all the Christians in attendance eagerly embraced it, crying Deus vult, meaning God wills a crusade be launched, Esposito writes, quote, "This was ironic because as one scholar has observed, God may indeed have wished it, but there is certainly no evidence that the Christians of Jerusalem did, or that anything extraordinary was occurring to pilgrims there to prompt such a response at that moment in history." Again, that's from Islam, the Straight Path, page 64. The scholar that Esposito quotes is Francis E. Peters in his essay, Early Muslim Empires. Clearly, this academic is as delusional or dishonest as our Georgetown professor. To claim that there is certainly no evidence that the Christians of Jerusalem desired aid against their Muslim overlords who were terrorizing them, or that nothing extraordinary was occurring to Christian pilgrims is itself extraordinary, extraordinarily fake. Here, for example, is what William of Tyre, born around 1130, a near contemporary chronicler, said of Christian experiences in Jerusalem right before the First Crusade.
Ooh.
Quote, Jerusalem's Christians, he writes, endured far greater troubles under the Turks, so that they came to look back upon as light the woes which they had suffered under the yoke of the Egyptians and Persians. Death threatened them every day, and what was worse than death, the fear of servitude, harsh and intolerable. William is saying that under the Turks, who conquered Jerusalem from the Egyptians around 1071, Christians suffered even worse abuses than under the Fatimids of Egypt and the Abbasids of Persia, which were bad enough. He proceeds to offer a typical example. Quote, even while the Christians were in the very act of celebrating the holy rites, the Turkish enemy would violently force an entrance into the churches, which had been restored and preserved with such infinite difficulty since being destroyed earlier under the Egyptians and the Abbasids. Utterly without reverence for the consecrated places, they sat upon the very altars and struck terror into the heart of the worshippers with their mad cries and whistlings. They overturned the chalices, trod underfoot the utensils devoted to the divine offices, broke the marble statues, and showered blows and insults upon the clergy. The Lord Patriarch then in office was dragged from his seat by hair and beard and thrown to the ground. Again and again he was seized and thrust into prison without cause. Treatment fit only for the lowest slave was inflicted upon him in order to torture his people, who suffered with him as with a father.
If you want to see the rest of it, go click that link up there. And I've got one last story for you. Yeah. The last revelation of St. Al Gore in his final prophecy for America. The final story of today is Jesus, Jacob, Joseph, Joshua, Jeremiah, Judah, Job, Joel, Jonathan, Joshua, Judas, Jude, Judith, Jonah, even sites like Jericho and Jerusalem. Sure, a lot of J-sounding names and words in the Bible. It's kind of interesting because there actually isn't a J sound in the Hebrew language. More often than not, it sounds to a Y sound. Speaking of J, there's also quite a few Johns in the Bible: John the Baptist, John the Apostle, John Mark, John Father of Peter, and John of Patmos. The latter is credited as the author of the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation. That's Stephen King's favorite Bible book, I'd assume, is all the spooky end days imagery like galloping quartets of horses, Armageddon, and the multi-headed beasts. Ever since election of 2000, when that stubborn dangling Chad refused to fall their way, the Democrat Party has adopted its own version of Revelation, only theirs was authored by St. Al Gore. In his magnus opus, The Inconvenient Truth, which was released in 2006, next year will be its 20th birthday, so ready your recyclable barf bags for a year-long celebration of such an important, groundbreaking, visionary film. It's a torrid tale of environmental destruction, dire prophecies about the oceans boiling, the people starving, the entire planet frying to a crisp. The end is nigh. Alas, Al Gore's prophecies didn't prove to be all that prophetic, and here's what he said about Florida and California.
This is what would happen to the sea level in Florida. This is what would happen to San Francisco Bay. A lot of people live in these areas.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I live in Tampa Bay. I promise you my ocean view isn't this good. His prediction about hurricanes growing stronger, bigger, and more frequent didn't age well either. In fact, the number of hurricanes and their intensity has decreased.
And then, of course, came Katrina. It's worth remembering that when it hit Florida, it was a Category 1. But it killed a lot of people and caused billions of dollars worth of damage. And
the clip within the cute, adorable polar bear drowning to death because the ice is melted. Of course, there are plenty of polar bears. Every Christmas, they drink Coca-Cola.
I went up to the North Pole. I went under that ice cap in a nuclear submarine.
Mm-hmm. And also, St. Al Gore's crystal ball must have been cloudy that day because of global warming.
This is Mount Kilimanjaro, more than 30 years ago and more recently. And a friend of mine just came back from Kilimanjaro with a picture he took a couple months ago. Another friend, Lonnie Thompson, studies glaciers. Here's Lonnie with a last sliver of one of the once mighty glaciers.
Yeah, It must have been cloudy that day, probably because of global warming. There's still tons and tons of snow on Kilimanjaro. If you love snow, you can even plan your vacation around it. Still, the facade of foresight is difficult to shake. Once people associate someone with supernatural powers, it's tricky to convince them otherwise, even if the psychic has been discredited or just looks flat out absurd, a la guys like Uri Geller or John Edwards. Now, St. Al Gore is back with another chilling prophecy, as Politico reported today in its breaking headline. Al Gore compares Trump administration to Nazi Germany. Former Vice President Al Gore on Monday compared President Donald Trump's administration to Nazi Germany and issued a dire warning about Trump's use of power in a speech devoted to climate change. Speaking at an event at the start of San Francisco Climate Week, Gore said the Trump administration was trying to create their own preferred version of reality to achieve their sweeping objectives, similar to the little Austrian artists' party in the 30s and 40s. Have you ever noticed all of St. Gore's warnings are dire? The Tennessee divorcee has never met an apocalypse he hasn't liked. What's best about St. Al Gore's is blatant attempt at rhetorical head fake. Why, I'm certainly not saying ABC, not at all. But when you stop and think about it, proceeds to exactly say ABC. I understand very well why it's wrong to compare, the little Austrian formerly known as Adolf to the others movement. Gore said to an audience of roughly 150 climate advocates and policymakers gathered at the Science Museum on San Francisco's waterfront. It was a uniquely evil full stop. I get it, but there are important lessons from history of that emergent evil. It was Hamburg's mentor, Theodore Ardo, who wrote the first step in that nation's descent into hell was, and I quote, the conversation with all questions of truth into questions of power. Gore said, he describes how the Nazis, and I quote again, attack the very heart of distinction between true and false, end quote. The Trump administration is insistent on trying to create their own preferred version of reality. His own version of reality, so says the man who predicted all polar bears would drown, Florida would vanish, Kilimanjaro would bake, the hurricanes would grow, and the earth would go boom like an overcooked burrito in the microwave. Meanwhile, the American people have moved on. We've gone from an inconvenient truth to truth social. That's got to sting. We've already seen, by the way, how populist authoritarian leaders have used migrants as scapegoats and have fanned the fires of xenophobia to fuel their own rise to power, Al Gore said. And power seeking is what this is all about. Our Constitution, written by our founders, is intended to protect us against the threat of identical to Donald Trump, he said, to applause. Emphasis added. So we've gone from global warming causes fires to xenophobia causing fires. That's an interesting pivot. Good luck with that. Maybe Gavin Newsom can use Gore's logic to deflect blame for the Los Angeles wildfires, but the bigger problem is Al Gore himself. His pants are on fire. Been that way for 20 years. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Nothing to do with xenophobia or global warming. And we have a new member. That would be PDW, has become a YouTube member, and this is for you.
Welcome to the shit show. Every single day, a new flavor of fuckery. Cause everybody's such you see, and they're dumber than a bag of rocks. Monday, bullshit. Tuesday, bullshit. Wednesday, what the fuck? And then 4 more days of increasingly stupid, ridiculous, ignorant, boulder, dash, poppycock, bollocks, and fuckery. Yeah, we're going all over again.
All right. Welcome, PDW. Good to see you, and welcome to this nut house. Yes, Tracy Spinner. I love that song too. It is such a glorious thing. And I do have a video that should be coming out here in just about, 15 minutes or so. It's going to come rolling in there, and then it's going to forward all you fine people to go over and harass Valhalla Awaits, one of my good buddies. But I got this little tidbit for you that I really want you to soak up and keep in mind. Keep this in mind, because this is coming up.
Let's get started.
good.
Have a good day, everyone. Go say hi to Mo. Peace.
Bless your heart. I thought I was the only mentally challenged one here.
Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Early morning, rise and shine. Coffee's brewing, feeling fine. News is out and on the air. Shizzy whiz nuts wild, but we don't care. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz nuts, start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Headlines spinning in the breeze. Stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java with a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Headlines spinning in the breeze. Stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java, wear a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Serious is overrated. Every day we're caffeinated. Talk the town, but in a jest. Morning whiz is always best. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop.
Oh my god, Shizzy breaks Larry. Shizzy broke Larry.